I've got a roll of 35mm black and white film right here, and I'm going to show you the easiest way that you can develop this in your bathroom at home. The first thing you're going to need to do is gather together all the equipment and supplies that you're going to need. First of all, you're going to need a developing tank. It can be either a plastic tank or a stainless steel tank. Just one empty bottle to store our used fixer. We'll also need a measuring cup that can measure in milliliters. A darkroom thermometer. You'll need some developing chemicals. We'll be using Ilford Ilfosol 3, and then you also need some Ilford Rapid Fixer. There's some other chemicals that you can use when you're developing film, such as Stop Bath, Hypoclear, and PhotoFlow, but those aren't truly necessary. You just absolutely must have a developer and a fixer. We've got a little kitchen timer right here. I've got a rag to help keep things clean. This is our roll of film that we're going to be developing and the box that it came in. The box usually has instructions for developing times on the inside. We've got a can opener to help open the film canister, a pair of scissors. I've also got some 35mm negative storage sleeves. I've also got this coat hanger right here and some clothespins so that we can hang up our film to dry when we're done developing it. Lastly, I've got this big old thing. This is called a changing bag or a darkroom bag, and this is so you can, basically it's got two sleeves that you stick your arms in. And then on the bottom here, it's got a zipper. You open that up and then it has another zipper. So it's basically a double-walled, light-tight black bag. And you can put your developing tank and your roll of film in here and load your tank in this, so you can do that in broad daylight and it won't fog the film or ruin the film. So this is a different option. If you want to invest in one of these, you can do this instead of blocking off all the light in your bathroom. This may be difficult to see, but what I'm filming right now is the seam in the door to the bathroom. And as you can see, light can leak in right there. So if you want to load your film in the bathroom, you need to seal this off. So to seal off the seam on the bathroom door so that no light gets in, you can just use some cheap black electrical tape and then just cover the whole seam all the way around the door. That way no light can get in. Or what you can do is just wait till it's night, and if you turn off all the other lights in the house, then there's really not going to be any light leaking in through there, and then you don't have to worry about sealing it off. So that's one thing you can do to be able to load your developing tank if you don't have a darkroom changing bag to load it in daylight. Okay, so I just want to quickly discuss the differences between a plastic or a stainless steel tank and how to load both of them. The most common one is a Patterson tank. This isn't a Patterson tank, this is an older Anscomatic tank. It's not very good, but it works. And most plastic tanks are really similar. They have this plastic reel like this, and basically what you do is you feed the film in right there. And then by doing this motion, it automatically reels the film in onto the reel. Stainless steel tanks, on the other hand, require a bit more skill. Basically, you've just got this solid wire spool right here, and you're going to actually start the film in the center right here, kind of hold it in place, and then using a technique where you sort of pinch the film will guide it in. So I'm going to show you how to do it both ways. Most beginners prefer the plastic tanks, and they do work well, but they can sometimes jam, which is really annoying. Whereas with the stainless steel tanks, once you have the technique down, then you really have no problems and it's a lot more reliable. So I've got just a practice roll of film here first. Keep in mind that you need to do this in complete darkness. So whether that's in a darkened bathroom that you've sealed off from all light, or if you do that in a darkroom changing bag, it doesn't matter, but it has to be done in complete darkness. So the first thing you need to do is get the film out of the canister. If you're crazy, you can just manhandle it and like rip it open, which isn't probably recommended, but you can see I'm already prying it open. I can rip this thing apart by hand if I want. It's not the most elegant way. The most popular way is to just use a can opener. Now this is already popped off because I just ripped the canister apart. But basically what you would do is you just get the can opener on there and pop the caps off, and then that just opens the whole thing, exposing the roll, and then you can just pull it off the core. It's usually taped right there, so you can either just rip it off or cut it with scissors. Once you have your film opened up in the dark bag or in a dark room, you can load it onto the reel. So let me show you how to load it onto this reel. Each plastic reel is a little bit different, but basically you get it started, you pull it in, feed it in right there, and once you have it fed in, it's just a matter of walking it on. So we got that on there. That can go in the tank. Put the lid on. We're ready to develop. Now, if you're going to load it onto a stainless steel reel, what you're going to try and do is you're going to start at the center here. There's also these little hooks. I don't know if you can see those. Little hooks that can kind of catch the sprockets. As I sort of pinch it like that, give it a little curl, and I'm going to try and get it hooked. Yeah, so I get it hooked on the little hooks right there. Okay, so once I have it hooked, I sort of rest my thumb and index fingertips against the edge of the reel while simultaneously sort of pinching and holding a slight curl in the film. And if I do that and maintain slight tension, it's going to just simply guide the film onto the reel. One reason that I prefer the stainless steel tanks is because they're just like generally less leaky than the plastic ones. The plastic ones tend to leak chemicals and water all over, and they're a bit messier. It doesn't really negatively affect the developing of your film. It's just kind of a hassle. Okay, I've gone ahead and loaded up this roll of HP5 inside the developing tank. So now we just need our developer. We're using Ilford Ilfosol 3 and our fixer, and we're using Ilford Rapid Fixer. The reason I selected Ilfosol 3 for this tutorial is because it's really easy to use. We're using it as what's called a one-shot developer, which means that we mix up just the amount that we need to develop our roll of film, use it one time, and then dispose of it properly. Inside the box from the Ilford HP5 film, they list a bunch of different developing times. And if we look on this list, we'll find our developing time for Ilfosol 3. We're going to be using Ilfosol 3 in a 1-part developer to 9 parts water solution. And that's going to give us a developing time of 6 minutes and 30 seconds. We'll be developing at a temperature of 20 degrees Celsius or 68 degrees Fahrenheit. So the first thing that we need to do is get out our darkroom thermometer, and we need to get our tap water at the correct temperature for mixing our chemicals. So we're shooting for 68 degrees Fahrenheit, which is equivalent to 20 degrees Celsius. And I'm just going to work on, by trial and error, the cold and the hot water until I can get it to the correct temperature. It is important to always strive for accuracy, but it's not a big deal if you're off by a degree or two. Black and white film can be pretty forgiving, so if you make a slight mistake, don't fret. Okay. My water appears to be at the correct temperature. I'm going to go ahead and fill up my measuring cup. The stainless steel developing tank that I have requires 250 milliliters of solution. I've gone ahead and filled way more than that. So because I'm using Ilfosol 3 in a 1-part developer to 9 parts water ratio, that means I need 225 milliliters of water. So with this measuring cup, I'm going to have to kind of guesstimate the halfway point between 200 and 250 milliliters. Okay, so now that I have it down to 225 milliliters of water, I can fill it up to the 250 milliliter mark with my Ilfosol 3. So we got that right there. Okay, looks like my developer is ready. A lot of people like to pre-wet their film. Before pouring in the developer, just get the film all wet. So you just get it wet, you can pour it out. Alright, so I like to set out a rag under my developing tank just to keep it less messy. I've got a timer right here. I'm going to set it for my developing time of 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Then we'll pour in the developer. Don't want to pour it too fast so it doesn't spill out the top. We'll start the timer. Put the cap on. Start agitating. Everyone has their own agitation scheme, so you might need to develop your own to your own taste. But basically I just keep inverting and rotating it for the first 30 seconds of development, and then I do it on every minute mark after that. So that was the first 30 seconds. When I set it down, give it a couple taps to get any air bubbles dislodged. So we'll continue to develop for the next 6 minutes. So I just hit the first minute mark, and so when I agitate on the minute mark, I just agitate for 10 seconds. Okay, so we're just about out of time. So we're almost done with the developing. So I'm going to take the cap off, and as soon as the timer goes off, we're going to dispose of the developer. There's the timer. What I do is I run the water while slowly pouring it down the sinks. You're going to want to look into what regulations your local municipality has regarding the disposal of darkroom chemicals. I'll provide more information about that at the end of the video. Next, we're going to completely stop development by rinsing. We're just going to run this underwater for a while and dump it out a couple times. You might want to look into using a chemical stop bath if you so choose, but using water for most purposes works just fine. Okay, so now I'm going to mix up some fixer. With this Ilford Rapid Fixer, for film, we're going to mix it in a ratio of 1 part fixer to 4 parts water. So that means I'm going to use 200 milliliters of water and 50 milliliters of fixer. And I'm just going to go ahead and quickly pour this in. So this fixer only takes 2 to 5 minutes of fixing time to do its job. So I've just set 2 minutes on the timer, and I'll use a similar agitation technique. I'll agitate for the first 30 seconds, and then I'll agitate on each minute mark after that. The nice thing about this fixer is that you can reuse it several times and it'll still work great. So typically what I do is the first time I use a batch of fixer, I'll fix for 2 minutes. The next roll of film I'll fix for 3 minutes, and so on and so forth until I'm at about 5 minutes, at which point then I'll dispose of the fixer. Because each time you use it, it depletes a little bit, so it doesn't work as strongly as the first time. So for right now, since we just mixed a fresh batch, 2 minutes should be just fine for fixing. You do have to be a little more careful with disposing of your fixer. There are different rules. The main reason is it has silver left behind in it from the fixing process that came off of the film. For right now we don't have to worry about that because we're going to reuse this fixer, so I'm just going to put it inside of this bottle that I've marked Film Fix, and I can save it for my next roll. Alright, now just pour that right in there. Okay, so the last step is, after we've poured out the fixer, is to just give it a water wash. Different people use different washing techniques. I'm just going to do a really quick, simple one. Ideally, you want to get your film as clean as possible. Some people use a chemical called HypoClear to help get it cleaner faster. But we're just going to settle with a quick water wash. So I'll fill it up, dump it out once just to give it a quick rinse. Then I'm going to fill it up again. Put the cap on. We'll agitate 10 times. Dump it out. Then we're going to repeat. Agitate 20 times. Dump it out. And we'll repeat it one more time, agitating 30 times. And dump that out. And that should get us pretty clean. Finished washing it. We can take the lid off. Let's see what we got. You can see some undeveloped spots where my film was touching. So that's sort of a mistake right there, but everybody makes mistakes. And you just learn from them. So we got some negatives. Run my fingers down like this a couple times to get off excess water. And then I'll just pin them up at the top right here. And I'll also pin them at the bottom right here to weight them down, to hold them straight. And then I can just let these dry for a couple hours, and then I can cut them out and put them in my negative sleeves. Okay, our film's all dry, so I'm just going to pull out one of these negative sleeves. Okay, so that's that. We've got our negatives, they're all developed. Now we can print them in the darkroom or scan them with a film scanner onto the computer and publish them on the internet, or print them, or whatever we want to do. So, hope you like this tutorial. Check the description. I'll include a link with some show notes that's going to have a lot of supplementary information, including things like additional steps you can take to get better results, where to get all the supplies and materials, as well as information about safe disposal of darkroom chemicals. So definitely check that information out as well. But hopefully that's enough to get you started. And if you have any questions, just feel free to leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer them. I hope you found that tutorial helpful and maybe making it a little less scary to develop your own black and white film at home. I tried to make it as simple as possible so that anybody can pick it up. If you like this video, I've actually put together a sweet prize package that I'm going to do a little contest for. So all you have to do to win is leave a comment on this video. I'd appreciate if you left not a generic comment, but maybe something like what you liked about the tutorial, or what other kind of videos you'd like to see, whether it's about film photography, digital photography, or anything about photography in general. So what's in this prize package is I've got a stainless steel developing tank, a darkroom thermometer, and we've got a roll of Kentmere 400 black and white film. So that'll get you started in black and white home developing. You'll still have to pick up the chemicals, but this will give you the necessary equipment you need to get started. So appreciate your viewing. Please share with your friends, comment, like, and subscribe to Camera Clubhouse. Thanks!